Welcome to the Brainz Magazine podcast, a podcast with in-depth interviews and conversations with world-class entrepreneurs, expert coaches, industry leaders, and international celebrities. Get exclusive insight into the world of business, mindset, leadership, and lifestyle with your host, Mark Sefton.
I want to welcome you to the next episode of the Brainz Magazine podcast. And today we have a double act, and it's always a treat when I don't just have one, but I have two Comeiros on the airwaves with me today. So we have Joey and Mark Comeiro. They are the founders of Comeiro Mediation Services. It's always fun when I've got two people on the one podcast. How are you both?
We're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this because I always think you always get a nice flavor when you get a man and woman doing anything. I've always talked about how I love seeing a man and woman perform, like in theater or in song, or even like on a TV show. I just find like the flow and the balance of energy just wonderful. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, 100%. That's why we do what we do, and that's why we do it together.
Right. Yeah, we do everything together pretty much.
Yeah, because obviously sometimes, you know, when you come across couples like yourself, it's almost like, does it not get exhausting? Do you not get fed up of like the fact that you do life together and then you work together?
That's a tough question.
I mean, no, it is. It's interesting, right? So like we talk about it all the time. We're married, we live together, we spend like the majority of every day together, and now we work together. And we
work well together.
We do work well together, and that's why we do it.
Mm.
So is it challenging at times? Of course it is, but we make it work.
And do you feel like you work better together than actually being together?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, yikes. No, I think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're a good team in life and in work.
I think we're a good balance. Both, like Joey said, life and work, we balance each other out pretty well.
Balance is so crucial, I think, in every area of life, business, relationships, everything is about balance, sleep, food. It's all about that, isn't it? Like, how important has it been for you guys who've both been divorced before, which is something that I really want to focus on as well. But how important do you feel balance is in terms of, creating a relationship, whether it's a working one or a personal one, to make it work?
I think we balance each other out. We're pretty much the same personality, but then very different in ways. And so I think we pull out the good in those two things, where that helps with the balance. And we have open conversations, and I'm super loud and he can be super calm, but that's good because we don't shy away from an argument. That's for sure. So, and I think that's helpful at times to have good, healthy arguments. And we definitely, we talk things out a lot.
Yeah. So two type A personalities sit here in front of you right now. One thing that I had to learn was compromise. That's a big part of it. I had to learn to compromise, right? So I think that's part of balancing it too. If you can balance and compromise, you can get through it.
Yeah, compromise. And then I think adaptable as well, being able to adapt to the situation, to the needs of somebody else, if they're not intuitive to ourselves, can be really a big part of that as well, can't it?
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do what she says most of the time, but
that's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's how we do it, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying about talking stuff out, even if it's difficult, because I think sometimes people get caught in the fact that they feel like by saying nothing, it's their idea of keeping the peace. But actually what happens is you build up resentment inside, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything has to come to the surface. Obviously, like Mark has said, he had to learn compromise. I have to learn to every once in a while keep my mouth shut. So there are things that you need to keep inside. But for the most part, it's very important. That's what we do in our work, is that in the room, it has to get very uncomfortable for you to bring things to the surface. Otherwise, you can't move forward.
So true. Mark, I got a question for you because this is something that I think is significant, and I kind of want to get your take. Now, I know that you've both been divorced before, but in your case, like Mark, how important do you feel it is to experience a divorce in order to be able to help other people on it? Because sometimes one of my hang-ups, especially in the medical profession, is like you have doctors that are medicating or diagnosing mental health, but they've never been depressed in their life. Like, how important is it for you and your business and the business that you've created for you to have been through it in order to, help others with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. We talk about this all the time, and that's one of the reasons why, we went down this road, right? I went through the divorce. I experienced the mediation. I experienced the difficulty in going through the divorce, with kids and the whole process. So I do feel, it is important. I feel it makes us better.
Mm,
It makes us better as mediators, because we can now mediate with sympathy and empathy. So
mm,
not just the sympathy part, but now we can put the empathy part in because we've done it. We've been there. We understand it. We understand the process. We can build on the process that we went through to make it better and try to make it a lot smoother for the couples that we're working with. So I do think that it helps our business tremendously in that, because now we've built the trust right off the bat with the clients that we're working with. When we do that consultation and we let them know, hey, we've been divorced, we've gone through the process, we understand the process, we're taking the parts that we didn't like. I mean, it's not a process that's fun to go through anyway, but we're taking the parts that we struggled with, and now we can build on it and try to make it a lot smoother for them.
mm. Yeah, I can imagine that that's one of your clients' probably biggest reasons for working with you, right? I can imagine, like, for me, that would be something that would really be of reassurance and compassion because I think there's two things that are really uh, difficult for people to open up on. One is obviously their personal relationship, and the second is probably finances. Like nobody likes to talk about those like to other people. So I'd imagine having that is really probably something that you probably get clients feeding back to you as being one of the main reasons, right? Why they work with you.
Yes, 100%. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. Now, you both had children right before in your previous marriages, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
So something I really feel is really important, where I almost feel like the whole rest of the podcast should just be on this and I'll just be quiet because I just feel like this is something that, from a personal point of view as well, is something that I've been navigating. But Joey, how difficult is it to blend two families? Because it's something that I've found a little challenging myself.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that he asked me that question?
You asked the right person.
I certainly
So,
did. I did my homework.
so it is it's only taken about 8 years for the families to blend. No big deal. Just eight.
Just
But
a
it took a long time. It takes years and years of work. It takes a lot of listen, you don't know how to do it until you're in it. There's not a lot of books that you can read. You can read every book on when you're pregnant, what to expect when expecting, but there's not a lot there's not a lot of talk about divorce, period. It's very embarrassing for people. It's very um people keep it internally with divorce. And I think the same thing goes for blending families. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about the struggles. Nobody wants to outwardly post on Facebook, hey, we're having the worst time blending our family. Haha. And then you take a snapshot of the family photo. That's not what people do. So no one's talking about it. So you have to navigate it on your own. And we've learned some things on the way, but it's been more than challenging at times. We have my kids were older. They were teenagers at the time or preteen. like just going into, and Mark's children were a lot younger. So we had some that kind of accepted it a little bit more than others. And I think that's difficult as well because some of them bonded pretty quickly and some of them didn't. So that took a little while. But it was just a matter of us just staying on the course and not giving up because there's so many times we could have given up because of the blended family, because it's a lot of stress. So, and you have Mama Bear and Papa Bear coming to the defense of the biological child. And now we've finally gotten to the point where all four kids, they're all close now. And we've gotten a lot better at co-parenting because you have to co-parent with your ex and now co-parent with your current spouse. There's a lot of co-parenting. That's a difficult thing to do. So we've just learned to, it's, listen, it was like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stuck most of the time. It was trial and error a lot of times. But I think the biggest thing is that we didn't give up, even when we wanted to give up. We stayed with it. And now it's, I mean, when I tell you light years, like it's like night and day what it was when we first lived in the house together than to what it is now. So if anyone's listening and they're blending a family or you're saying that you've had challenges with it, it does get better.
I would love to ask you, why didn't you give up? Like, and I'll ask that for both of you because I think that for me is really important.
Yeah. Do you want to take that?
Yeah. Well, I every day say, I love him. I love him. I love him. We're doing this because I love him. This is going to be okay. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
It was work because we the second go around when you get remarried, and I know some people get married multiple times, but we knew this is us. We're a team. This is the person that I was meant to be with, and it was just because literally because of that, because I knew that it was going to work, and this is what I signed up for it. He signed up for it. We knew we had kids. It's not like all of a sudden one day he took some kids out of his trunk and was like, "Oh, by the way, I have kids." I knew he had kids.
I was
I
going to say that
signed the
really
marriage
would be a Papa
certificate.
Bear move. He's been hibernating them for a few years.
So I knew it. I signed up for it, you know.
Yeah. Same. So sticking together, same thing. Like I would say she loves me. She loves it. No, I'd say the same thing. Like I love her. I love her. We're meant to be together, right? So we signed up for it. We knew what we were getting into. And I mean, like Joey said, struggles, challenges, open conversations. We've cried together about it. We've to the point where we've been angry, we've been sad, we've laughed about it because you get to the point you're like, what do we do? And then we just honestly listen to each other, right? My kids are younger, so I did a lot more listening because I was fortunate enough to have Joey who's been through the stages that her kids went through that my kids were coming up to. So a lot of times Joey would say, I've been there, I've seen this. This is what, and I was, okay, you're right. So I had that. I was fortunate to have that. So
Yeah, his kids couldn't get away with anything because I already went through it twice. I was like, you don't have to,
right.
like, he's not
Yeah.
going where he say he's going. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know this has already happened a couple of times.
Yeah. I've been, yeah.
So that's the positive
Yeah.
side.
I was blinded a few times. Then Joey came in
Yeah,
and say,
it's
hey,
like, how do you not see what's happening right now? This has been done, that this is already a thing. We know about this. Yeah, I had to shake him a little bit.
knocks on the head.
So if I'm hearing it right, really it's love for each other that has made you not quit. So do you feel like if there was a situation where a couple, maybe one of them didn't love the other, that would potentially make it unbearable, or some of the pressure and stress around blending those families would end? Are you seeing that dynamic as well play out with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, we're not at the time where you have to stay with somebody, you don't have to stay in a loveless marriage anyway, regardless of there's kids or no kids. So if one person doesn't love another person, why are you there? Period.
Very true.
There's no reason to stay anymore. I know people used to stay together because that's what people did. You vowed to stay with somebody until you died. But that's not how you should live your life. How does that make, wouldn't you rather be happy?
Yeah, absolutely. Was it the pain of your own divorces that led you to this work? Is this, I often find that people do that which they kind of went through. Is that very much the case for you?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So that's that we we talk all the time. We'll sit in the office and we'll talk. We'll sit at home, we'll talk, and we'll talk about how we got here. How do we get to this point? And it stems from going through this ourselves. Like, boy, that was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life, right? So between playing collegiate football and joining the military, spending 20 years in the military, one of the toughest things I've gone through in my life is going through a divorce.
Mm.
So that's why we got into this. I got my master's in conflict resolution. As we were going down that road, I said, "Oh, talking with Joey, I'm like, we could do our own, you know, divorce mediation, right?" So yes, so the pain and the decisions, the tough decisions that were made from our divorces have led us down this path.
Anything to add, Joey?
Yeah, so like Mark said, he went for his master's in conflict resolution and then he was mediating in court. And, neither one of us are attorneys. But a light bulb went on. I said, "Oh, I guess I didn't even realize because I went to a mediator that was an attorney. And I didn't realize that mediators, you didn't have to be an attorney. And we never pretend to be an attorney in any way, right? So that's the first thing we say to people when they walk through the doors. We're not attorneys. If you feel more comfortable with an attorney, then you should do that 100%. But when he said that he took a divorce mediation course, a light bulb went off, because I came from a completely different field. But a light bulb went off. It's same with him, where we're like, wow, this is what we should do. That all that pain that we went through, we can't take the pain away from people, obviously. But when you come into our office, you're our family and we're going to make sure that we do everything for you that we can possibly do. Okay, we're not attorneys, so there's certain documents that we can't write, but we'll do that. We'll find that person for you. We're going to do everything for you to just alleviate some sort of pressure that we felt because you have so many things to worry about. When you're going through a divorce, you're out of your mind. You're not even thinking. You're like, I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about me. I'm worried about, you might even be worried about your soon to be ex. How's our life? Am I ruining everything? Is our life just going to fall apart? So we know that. And we make sure that we try to alleviate something from our clients. And it could be that we're just your friend. I know we're not downplaying attorneys at all because we actually have attorneys that are our biggest mentors. But we often say, you could go in when you go and you meet with an attorney and they're charging you, say, hourly. You can go in and talk about your feelings, but they're charging you money for that.
Yeah.
And we're not therapists, but at the same time, you can call us because we know how we said in the beginning, sometimes you have to get those feelings out in order to move forward. That could be a huge hurdle. So call us.
Yeah.
Cry. Whatever it takes however, like our job is to move you forward. So, yeah.
Yeah. I wish, as an adult, right, we don't want to be treated like kids or like treated like babies, but I wish someone held my hand through this process to show me like, you're going to go here, you're going to do this. I didn't have that. So what we try to do is we try to hold their hands, right? We try to say, hey, we're with you from the beginning to the end. We're going to walk you through this process, and we're going to do some hand holding, right? So that's kind of how we operate.
Yeah, giving people clarity, I think, and putting people away from a stressed mind to a solution-based mind. Then when they do work with an attorney attorney to make things official. They're coming
Right.
from that place of clarity and solution because of the work that they've done with you. I get it.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yes.
That's nice. One thing I noticed about your work is that you help people that go through a divorce to stop ruining each other's lives. Like unpack that a little bit. How are you doing that? How are you walking people through their divorce without actually it turning like nasty? Because often it does, sadly.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if there's children involved, that's the first thing we say. You have children, they come first, they're most important. Even the courts say, hey, your children come first, and then it's you two. So that's kind of like what we talk about is just remember, you have children, they come first, they're the most important, right? So you don't want to be uh, nasty to each other. You don't want to be nasty to each other in front of your children. You don't want to talk bad about your ex. You don't. And I think Joey can elaborate more on that.
Yeah, so we basically, I mean, from a standpoint of us doing our job, we have a list of topics that we have to discuss during mediation. And, we have a job to do in that room. And first of all, when clients come into us, and if a client is using mediation, right off the bat, they're probably not in a position of nastiness, a little bit, but nastiness usually comes from, litigation where they each hire a lawyer and they go at each other, right? So when people decide to come to mediation, and we do this in a consultation as well, you both have to be willing to do it. You're not saying like, oh, we're going to hold hands and skip into the room, unicorns and ice cream, It's not like that. Obviously, you're getting a divorce, but you have to both be willing to do it. So right off of the bat, it shouldn't be nasty. And if it does get nasty, it's our job to make sure that it doesn't go down that road. So we bring people back to center, whether it's, someone takes a break, or if it gets nasty, we say, you can fight in your living room. Why are you coming in here to fight? You hired us to move forward. Fighting and going in circles is getting us nowhere.
Mm.
So it's our job, and that's what we've been trained to do, either through training or just years of experience, where we keep people on track and we make sure it doesn't get nasty. And I think Mark does a great job of this, is everybody just wants to be heard in the room. And I think that helps steer people away from getting nasty, is that someone says something and Mark will say something like, okay, so what you're saying is you just want XYZ. Is that what I'm hearing? Yes, that'll calm someone down. Things like that we've learned over the years to keep people away from nasty. But
Right.
we haven't had too many nasty,
No, I mean,
but a couple.
they're going through something. They're not listening to each other at home. Obviously, they're in our office.
Yeah.
So we make it a point to make sure that they're hearing each other in front of us, and that so when they walk out of there, we've had several times where we'll step out of the room and they're in there and we'll listen and they're talking, and they start talking and talking and talking a little bit more. And like, all right, this actually okay, and then we'll go back in,
Mm.
so yeah.
Mm. I've personally noticed when a woman's divorced a man, and if he has children, he doesn't then help raise the child as a way of like punishment for the woman leaving him. What do you say to such a man? I've noticed a couple of times, especially when I was dating and I was speaking with women that have children, and the very few men that were either not helping financially or not actually having a dedicated time to have the child, to give the mother a break. Like for me, it was impossible to like even date a woman in such a situation. Like, whereas for me, I have children and I have my children every weekend, and I take them away, and I'm consistent with that because even though I'm no longer married to their mum, I still believe she deserves a break. I'm still a father, even if we're not husband and wife. So, what's your message to such a man? Because for me, I find it quite quite disturbing.
So you want to speak to, I can speak to the female side of that actually.
Go ahead.
Or you want to speak
No,
to
you
the,
good. Go
okay.
speak to the female side and then I'll jump in.
So we do talk about that in mediation. That is, you come up with a detailed parenting plan. We have had couples that's their argument, because a lot of couples that come to us, they're already separated. People now just do what they just separate, and live on their own. So they're living on their own. They're already doing these things. And we discuss it right away. Like we've said that recently that, you know, you each need a break. You need a life. You're both moving on. Someone's going to end up needing to date or go out with their friends or do things. So you do have to have that balance. It's important in mediation for us that we come up with a parenting plan, not only just to have it on a piece of paper to present to the court, but because these people are in our office, but they also have to go out and live their life after. Like, it's not just what's happening in our office. So we're trying to help them navigate that as well. We did see a need that goes beyond mediation, and that's why we introduced divorce coaching and consulting, where we can work one-on-one with people before, during, and even after their divorce. It's very female driven because usually females are the ones looking for a little bit more help. That's just something we've noticed. I don't know if it's a statistic, but it is. But from a female's perspective on what you just said, if I'm working with a female and she says something like, he's a good dad, but then a little ways down the road, she says, I'm so mad at him. Like, too bad for him. He was supposed to see the kids this weekend, but I'm taking them away instead. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. You said that he's a good dad, right? And one of your core values, because we talk about core values a lot too, one of your core values is family, and your children come first. Yet you're going to keep your kids away from him, even though he's a good dad. So doesn't that necessarily go against the core values that we talked about? So you're just kind of asking that question, but it's not, I think it's just people's reaction. People are mad. They're angry. They want to figure out a way they're hurt, and hurt people want to hurt people. And so the best way to hurt somebody is to go right to the kids. Is it right? No.
Yeah.
So I think it's just having that conversation before they go out into the world, or having that conversation with somebody like, isn't this against your core values? Like, calling them out on it.
So for me, you speak to the male, the dad figure, as a dad with children who I feel I go above and beyond for my kids. So it's important. So when you're mediating and you come across that, I'm a mediator, I'm a professional, but I'm also a human being, right? So sometimes you got to keep, I tell people in mediation, or we tell people, you can't take the emotion out of mediation. It's okay to be emotional. You can't take it out. But as a mediator, I kind of have to temper my emotions at times as well. So if you come across something like that, we try to stress how important the kids are, right? And how important it is to be there for them, be a part of their life. Whether you're mad, you're angry, you're upset, the amount of money that, you have to pay your ex, right? Because, child support is another issue that people, they argue about, or they get upset about.
That's a heated one.
It's a heated topic. So there's times where, I have to sit back, let them get their emotions out, process. And then when I'm processing, I'm going to formulate what I'm going to say, right? To not escalate a situation that I'm feeling kind of, angry
like,
myself about.
Be a good dad.
Like, be a good dad, or, you're going to get one of these, right? No. But, and then I've had times where I've pulled the dad aside, the male aside separately, and had one-on-one conversations, man-to-man conversations, not like in a threatening way, but to say, hey, it's just me and you, what's really going on, right? So it's okay when you're in this setting to separate, right? The four of us don't have to be in the room at all times to talk about, so we can separate, take them away from what's going on, and really kind of dig into what's happening and why they're feeling a certain way. But we do stress the importance of family, even
Mm,
though even though you're separating.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm very passionate about it. Even in my latest book, Mark of a Man, I talk about don't use children as weapons because it's the easiest way to try and punish the other, but the only person that actually suffers is the child. It's like, for me, that's like, and I don't think I could be a mediator, Mark, because I would have to just say it straight. Because for me, it's appalling that fathers don't provide financial support to children, that they don't give the mother a break, regardless of whether she's a dirtbag or what. It's got nothing to do with the partner. It's to do everything with the children. And obviously now I'm becoming more like passionate about it myself because of the fact that if I wanted to date a woman with children, it's been near impossible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like men need to
Yeah.
step up and take
yeah,
responsibility and stop goofing around, stop punishing the woman, and grow a pair of cojones and take responsibility, honestly.
yeah. I love your passion, by the way.
Yeah,
That gets me fired up.
But it stinks.
it does.
Well, the situation
It
stinks,
does.
100%.
Yeah,
But I
it
love that.
does.
I love your passion about it
Oh,
because that's how I feel.
exactly.
That's how I feel. There's, I'm not going to say, um, I have a bit of a potty mouth, right? There's been times where, some words have come out that we've finished a mediation. The two of us like, was I out of line right there?
We have tequila, right? This is our office. We have tequila right there for after mediation
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh yeah.
There's a
Throw back
bottle
a
of
couple of
tequila.
shots of tequila to
Yeah.
Yeah,
get through it.
Sometimes you need it afterwards.
But yeah. So
I
But yeah,
believe it.
but females can be out there too with hurtful and using their kids. And we always say, because I think the biggest thing, and going through the divorce, all I kept thinking was, am I screwing up my kids? Like, should I reverse all of this and go back to the way things were? Just live at home, don't do it, leave the kids alone. That's what I thought of the whole time. And a
Mm,
lot of people come in, you see that look on their face, like, are
mm,
my kids going to be okay?
mm,
And we say your kids are going to be fine, but the one way that you can like 100% screw up your kids is to talk bad about your ex in front of your kids, use your kids against you. Like, yeah, okay, if you want to screw up your kids' lives, do all of that.
mm.
Bring in that negativity.
Honestly, like I could go on and we could talk about like all the different like permutations because I'll always as a man I always look at what I'm take responsibility for and what do I need to do as a man, right? So always like I always think as a man you should look at what you can do first. It's so easy, human nature, to look at what somebody else can do. I do think one of the interesting things is as much as I'm mindful and sensitive to my ex having a break like from the children because she needs that and deserves that. I also think that one of the things from a man's point of view is often if the children are with the mother, which I would say in most cases that is the case, but obviously there's exceptions. One thing that a woman doesn't have to experience is what it feels like for a father to ask for his children, whereas she's the one who kind of like gives them over. Like, I don't think mothers grasp that actually of how difficult that is as a father. You got any thoughts on that?
So you are 100% right. As you're talking and you're speaking those words, I'm feeling that because that's what I've gone through in the past. Not so much anymore. Our plan has changed, and now I see the kids as much as I want. The kids want to be with Joey and I, but in the beginning, that was the hardest thing to even get through. And I would say it to Joe all the time, like I have to ask to see the kids. I have to ask if they can come over on Easter Sunday. I have to like, why do I have to ask to see my kids? And it's frustrating. And how do you get through that? And at the same time, trying to keep the peace with your ex, right?
Mm,
Because you're not trying to kick up dirt and start this big argument.
mm,
Um, so yeah, that was a huge struggle for me. But what I did was I just honestly I kept moving forward. I kept providing. I kept buying the kids. We would buy the kids clothes. Go above and beyond what I would pay in child support. And we would, hey, can we take the kids out to dinner tonight? I'd continue to ask and just keep that peace, even though it burned me inside that I had to ask.
Parent too, from like this, not the sidelines, but you weren't right in the house.
So I'm so glad you touched on that too. So the other part of it is, yeah, I'm trying to parent and co-parent with my ex, but I'm not in that house with the kids all the time. Right. And then being called upon to help parent when the ex needed help, right? But then not being reciprocated. So it's really it's a tough situation to be in. But yeah,
that was tough for you.
That was really tough. I struggled.
That was
I struggled
your biggest
with that.
thing.
Yeah.
Last question, then, because we're going to bring this into land, and I want people to know how they can find out more about you and where they can go to actually benefit from this great work that you're doing. But if someone's in the middle of a divorce process right now, what's your message to them?
I would say if they're in the middle of it and they're in the midst of it and it's thick and heavy, two things. One is get help, some sort of help, whether it's a therapist. When your friends call you and ask you to go do something, you go, even when you don't feel like it. I'm going to say it again, therapy. And be there for, if you do have children, you're there for your children. Don't forget about them. All the pain that you're feeling, they're feeling as well. And whether it's finding out if they need therapy or if it's just a matter of you just keep telling them it's fine, everything's fine. I mean, kids just want to know, are they okay? It's fine, everything's fine, you're going to be fine. But the more help you can get, the better to get through this process, because I think you had mentioned it at the beginning. You need a clear head to go through this, and you don't have one right now. You might think you do, but you don't. Because looking back, I was a disaster and I thought I had it all together and I didn't. And you're making decisions that are going to affect the rest of your life and potentially your children's lives. Those are big decisions that you're making right now. So get as much support as possible, but stay on the course. Don't go backwards just because, it's getting too difficult. If you know that this is what was meant to be and you know that you are hurting more in the relationship and it was toxic, don't do it anymore. Get out of it. Go. You can go. It's okay. This isn't the 1950s anymore. You don't have to wear an apron and just grin and bear it and go to bed. You can move on, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
Definitely.
So to kind of piggyback on what Joey said, support group, you got to find a support group, but you also have to be open-minded, right? You have to think of the big picture. I know you're currently hurt. You're upset. There might be some bitterness, resentment, anger towards that other person. But if you have your support group, however that is, whether it's family, friends, like Joey said, therapy, but you got to be open-minded and do some research, make some phone calls. You can get free consultations from mediators and attorneys. You can ask those questions, whatever it may be. If you're going through it currently and you just don't know where to begin, or if you're in the middle of it and you don't feel it's going the way you've intended, you're stuck and you can't get through. I really think calling attorneys and mediators to see who does free consultations, just to ask a few questions, and that might get you back on track and
knowledge,
right? Yeah, knowledge is power, regardless of what it is, what the topic, what the subject. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And how do people find out more about you and your work and get in touch?
That's Joey's side of the house.
So they can visit ComeiroMediation.com. It's COMEIRO. Mediation.com is our website, and you can contact us through there. And we're also on Instagram at Comeiro Mediation and on Facebook under Comeiro Mediation Services. So they can go to the contact I don't even know if our cell number's on there, but there's a number on there that actually goes to my cell phone. So if you call it, it'll give you the number for my cell that you can text. We like to keep that option open. We have a lot of clients that text us instead of calling because you might be, with your kids or with your ex, and we want to keep it as private as possible. So it's just a text message. We do free consultations all the time. We tell people once they do a free consultation with us, they're tied to us and forever and ever. So even if they don't hire us, they can ask us questions. We can help in any way.
Absolutely.
And any final thought? I always like to give a little moment just for any intuitive or thought that you feel like we haven't captured that you feel is really poignant.
I don't know.
I think that you're divorced. We're divorced. We tell people all the time, we're divorced, not from each other, because some people think, oh, you're divorced and you do this.
Yeah.
We're divorced from other people, and we all have kids, and everybody survived. So it is survivable.
Oh, definitely.
We're happier. Our exes are now remarried and happier. We have good relationships with everybody. It was what was meant to be. We went with our gut on this one. There's a gut reaction. So if you have a gut, something's just burning in your gut.
Yeah.
Go with it. Or at least we're not pro-divorce. We're not like, yay. Yay, divorce. We would love to have a couple reach out to us and say, you know what? We've decided to work it out. Okay, great. But if you have that gut burning inside of you that there's another life out there for you, do it.
Yeah, I get it. And to be fair, some of my best days have been after my divorce, and some people's best days are right after. And that's really important to say, because it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, and for me, definitely testament to the fact that there were some dark days, but there would have been a lot darker if I'd stayed in the misery and the difficulty, which is really important.
That's what I was going to say. The exact same thing. Sometimes that life afterwards can be better for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So, and like the old cliche, time does heal all wounds. Right. We try to tell people that. I know it's cliche and you can roll your eyes and when you're in the midst of it, but it's so true. It really is, so yeah.
Mark and Jerry, it's been great to have you on the Brainz podcast today, and look forward to seeing your journey unfold and the great work that you do impacting so many people. So thank you.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, loved it. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Thank you for joining this episode with me, Mark Sefton. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Feel free to leave us a positive review on iTunes, and I look forward to welcoming you back to the next episode of the Brainz Magazine podcast.